The question for this episode is, what is the purpose of this attribute called implements, and what is the meaning behind the values that we provide to this attribute, which is implements? As in, what is the meaning of force colon app hostable that we are trying to provide to implements? What is the meaning of this, so on and so forth? And the answer is, whenever we try to create an Aura component, it is going to ask us where exactly it should be surfaced. And what I mean by that is, how exactly do you want to see the output of the Aura components? Because by default, Aura components are headless. You cannot see the output of a component all by itself. You need to put it within an app, or you need to put it within a record page, or you need to put it in a lightning page, so on and so forth. Now, what happens is, whenever we try to create an Aura component, whenever we try to use this attribute called implements, and whenever we try to provide a value to it, this particular Aura component is going to get more capabilities and more power. And what I mean by that is, when we add implements is force colon app hostable, then this Aura component, which is by default a headless component, will be getting the capabilities such that this component can be plugged into a tab. Likewise, whenever we try to have this value, which is flexi page available for all page types, to this attribute called implements, then this component, which is by default a headless component, can be plugged into lightning pages and etc. Likewise, if you use this value for the attribute which is implements, then this component can be plugged into a record page. As in, you can go back to any of your S objects, let us say account, you can pick any particular record within the account S object, and you can click on edit page. That is going to take you back to Lightning App Builder, and within the app builder you can grab this component and you can put it in the record page. Now that is the capability that this component is going to get when you add this value to the attribute called implements. Likewise, whenever you add this value, which is force colon has record ID, and when you try to embed this component back in the record page, let us say in opportunity page, then just because this component has got force colon has record ID for implements, it is going to grab the ID from the URL, and it is going to assign this ID to a special type of attribute called record ID. Now, the reason why I say special type of attribute called record ID is, the ID that is grabbed from the URL will be assigned to an attribute called record ID. Real quick, I'm going to create the attribute here. Name is going to be record ID. Type is going to be string. Now, if we have this attribute, then this ID that is fetched from here will be assigned to this attribute. If this attribute is not there, even then it is going to work absolutely the same way. That is because record ID is a special type of attribute. If we have it, that is fine. If we don't have it, then every component will be having access to that attribute called record ID, into which the ID that is grabbed from the URL is pushed just because we have this guy here. Now, likewise, if you want to embed this particular component into communities, then we'll be using this value for implements attribute. And in case if you want to embed this Aura component into a quick action, then we'll be providing this value, which is force colon lightning quick action, to the attribute which is implements. So basically, the values that we'll be providing to implements attribute, which are these, will be giving more power or flexibility to this component such that it can be surfaced or used in any of the entities like quick actions, tabs, record pages, lightning pages, so on and so forth. So that's all for this episode. See you in the next one.